This is an interactive tool to accompany our paper called Parallel and Distributed Speech Encoding Across Human Auditory Cortex. This includes real data that we report in our paper in Cell 2021, and each of these is an electrode recorded from a patient during speech listening tasks or during stimulation. So here, what I want you to notice is that you can click and drag the brain to move it around in 3D space. You can zoom in and out with the scroll wheel. And you can also look at different types of responses, so different models that we fit to look at what type of feature representations we see in each of these auditory areas. So for example, right now we have a spectrogram model. So if I click on one of these electrodes, I can see the receptive field for the spectrogram model. This seems to be responding to a combination of frequencies, but more low frequency energy. You could also do the same for all of these other areas. And you'll notice that the primary auditory cortex is deep in the temporal lobe. So in order to click on this, we'll have to turn off the whole brain and just show the temporal lobe only. So let's look at a few of those. So here's a very nicely tuned, sharply tuned Heschl's gyrus electrode. We have many more different types of models that you can look at. So for example, we can click on an electrode and change the type of correlation to different types of models. This includes a full phonological feature plus pitch model, which we report in the paper. And so you can look around at whether there's more representation of phonological information versus pitch information. You can also look at unique variants explained by different features. So for example, the onset feature we plot as just one single feature. And if we click on electrodes that are well-tuned for onsets, we'll see that there is a unique R-squared of 0.05 for this particular electrode. And of course, you can click around on all the rest of these to look at those as well. We can also color the electrodes by their anatomy. This is the same as is reported in the paper. So here are some more examples of that. And as you flip around, it will stay on the same electrode. And then finally, let's explore the stimulation results. Here, these electrodes are slightly different than the ones that were shown for the receptive field models, but you can click on individual electrodes, and what you can see is whether during stimulation the person perceived anything passively. So did they hallucinate any sounds when this area was stimulated? And also, were they able to repeat speech that was spoken to them? And in this case, these PSTG electrodes in white did show effects where there was no sound hallucination, but the person had problems perceiving and then repeating speech. You can see what specifically they said for some of these. So some of these might induce a paraphasia, which is a swapping of syllables, for example, or your voice sounds far away. There's also these electrodes that had a different effect in the temporal lobe on the superior temporal plane. For example, these caused a sound hallucination, but no problems perceiving speech. On this particular electrode I just clicked on, the person heard a loud sound in both ears, but we don't have repetition for that. Here's another one where the person says, "There's something over here," and points to their right ear, but repetition is intact. I hope you enjoy this viewer. Please check out our paper. It's linked here up at the top, and I hope you enjoy the viewer.